Okay, here I am again. It's Robert C. Dupree, and I want to just bring out to the American people again, my experience, because my main concern is the peoples, and when I say the peoples, I'm talking about basically of all race, but particularly peoples of color, you know. Because like I said, we have elected judges and officials and things that's in our judicial court system or government, whatever it is, and I'm talking about the ones who knowingly that they are refusing to uphold civil and constitutional rights and the good of the people. Something's wrong with that. They have sworn that they will uphold their office of oath. They've sworn that they will do right by the law as well as by the peoples. So this is a lot bigger than Robert C. Dupree. Now, I had mentioned earlier about the current lawsuit that I had filed against Lamar's Advertising and how this judge, Gary Feener, refused to recuse himself. Now I'm going to just back up just a little bit here now and let the American peoples have an insight on the prior or the previous lawsuit that was filed back in April 20th of 2010, and the same judge, Gary Feener, was over that. Now, when I had filed that over in the United States District Courts for the Western District of Missouri, in the Western Division downtown here in the Kansas City area, when I filed that lawsuit against General Mills, my former attorney Jeffrey Sutton, and the Barnett law firm, which originally was the Barnett and Jamison law firm, and they split it up and separated back here in 2004 sometime when I had to file suit against them for aiding in the conspiracy with General Mills concerning the settlement of full release fraud deceit. Now, in this prior or previous lawsuit back here involving with General Mills, as I stated back here in April the 10th, 2010. Now, this judge, Gary A. Feener, had a whole total different perspective in the very earlier part of that lawsuit that I had filed against General Mills and the law firm and them, meaning that involving with this settlement of full release, fraud and deceit and conspiracy and settlement, that the General Mills and the union, not the union, but General Mills and the law firm, that is, and my former attorney had collaborated and deceived me out of. Now, that happened all the way back in September of 2001. Now, here, Judge Gary Feener, he's seen all the evidence that was been presented because it was in and out of the courts perpetually after I had to file suit against my former attorney and then even about General Mills, and it was concerning the settlement. Matter of fact, I even have here in legal documents, continuously showing the battling involving with the settlement of full release fraud and deceit. Judge Gary A. Feener, when he has seen this here, and obviously about the rules and the federal rules and the laws and things about summary judgment and so forth, he assigned this case on the 22nd of April, after I filed it the 20th of April 2010, 3 months in advance that this case will go to early assessment or outside mediation. That was 3 months in advance before General Mills was even summoned into the courts. We're talking about back here in the case that he was over in April of 2010. Now, this is, again, his approach, way up front. General Mills and them, they wasn't even summoned on him 3 months in advance. But something happened. As soon as when General Mills was summoned, and that would have been in August the 13th of 2010, so 3 months prior, soon when General Mills and them was summoned in there, the case was, I guess, in there for about maybe a couple of months or whatever. Then General Mills did what they normally do best. Find some ways to manipulate, and then unfortunately got Judge Gary A. Feener to start aiding in the conspiracy with them, meaning of all the evidence that was presented. Now all of a sudden the case is coming up. He dismissed it. Not only did he dismiss it, but he dismissed it with prejudice back here in October the 20th of 2010. And spite, and according to federal laws, let me share this here real quick and then I'll show you something else. According to federal laws here and federal rules of civil procedures here, I'll just read this here briefly right here. Concerning motions for summary judgment. Okay, the suggestion in support of a motion for summary judgment should begin with concise statement of uncontroverted material facts. Each fact should be set forth in separate numbers and paragraph, and each fact should be supported by reference. Okay, each support should be supported by reference to where the record is in facts is established. I have 3 exhibit books. 3 exhibit books. I know you probably can't see the name of on here, but this here is filed in the United States District Court for the Western District of Missouri, Western Division, and the case number 10-0376-CV-W-GAF. And it got here Robert C. Dupree, plaintiff pro se, versus General Mills Operation Inc. R. Capital Inc. defendant. And then they got here with the union. And then I also have another book here involving with the Jeffrey A. Sutton. So these books of evidence are in compliance with the law. The evidence, as the law has stated here, in the federal rules of evidence, and then the federal rules here and concerning the procedures and things, and how that the evidence should be paragraphed. My point is, Jeffrey A. Sutton and the General Mills and them, they knew that the settlement of full release was a major product of fraud and deceit. And I have it all right here in this book. And unfortunately, after that have occurred, well, Jeffrey and General Mills and them know now obviously got the judge, Gary E. Feener, to dismiss this case here. And this is what I was so baffled about. Like, well, why? I mean, with all the evidence, you know, knowing that this had been a constant battle, so they can't talk about the statute of limitation ran out the statute, but continuously fighting and continuously being deprived, just like right now I'm still being deprived continuously my civil and constitutional right, even involving this new lawsuit. So now back here on involving with the old lawsuit, when this judge here, the judge, you know, Gary A. Feener, how when he was over this, okay, he's closed it in its entirety with prejudice, and I appealed that case. It was December the 13th of 2010. Well, for some reason or another, it took a very long time before the defendants or even the judge to respond in his order of final judgment concerning the judgment of final judgment concerning the prejudice and full judgment of relief and whichever. It took him almost, it was 2 weeks before I even heard anything, so I called the district judge, the district court, you know, after I had appealed this matter, and you know that was back in November, you know, the 8th or whichever, and I was asking, you know, what is taking so long? Why is it taking so long? And I called several times to the clerk, and I eventually got to talk to one of the clerk that was actually Judge Gary A. Feener's clerk down here in this chamber, and she was telling me that, well, it will be sometime after December the 6th, sometime after the 6th of December, you'll hear from them. And I specifically made it very clear that I am not going to just sit back and just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and then they come up with some lame excuse talking about, oh, well, I didn't file any timely matter. Well, woe and behold, that's exactly what they did. And I have recordings, I have conversations and everything of such. And the courts have all this here. So, after that, well then, after the case had been appealed, well, General Mills, union, lawyer, and all the attorneys who's representing them come up with an elaborate scheme and say, well, hey, you know, they alleged that I didn't file in a timely manner. And matter of fact, they even stated in writing that it was some 54 days after the judge have given his final ruling to dismiss this case in its entirety with prejudice. 54 days. They come up with all these laws, quoting and citing and citations and all this other stuff. All still falls under the color of law and a bunch of criminal perjury and involving with the deception of conspiracy and the color of law behind criminal acts and things here by making false statements and stuff, alleging that this is what happened. They know I filed on the timely matter. They know that. So since they found out that obviously I had sent documents and things concerning, the conversation between me and Judge Gary A. Feener's clerk, well, then they come up with another scheme talking about, well, I didn't file in a timely manner. And then when I informed the Court of Appeal up here in St. Louis about all what's happening, what went down, and how they constantly deprived me of my rights, so on and so on, and this went on for a little bit, and then eventually I had start sending documents and things requesting that Judge Gary A. Feener in the district court will send up all documents to the Court of Appeal that is required by law. Matter of fact, it's required by the 8th Circuit federal laws and things here in 38 and so forth, that they're supposed to send these things up if they have any material documents in their possession, and believe me, they did. And these 3 exhibit books was definitely in that pile of documents, and exhibit documents and pre-trial exhibit documents that they had, and they refused to. They didn't even put it on the docket, on the civil docket sheet. I went through there and I brought that to their attention. I brought that to the Court of Appeals attention. And so when I brought it to the district court attention and gave them a list of stuff that requires, for the law requires them to send up to them, and I gave them a list of stuff that wasn't on the civil docket sheet that they intentionally left off. Well, something happened. Well, I get after I filed my motion requesting for him to send these documents up, he goes and deny my motion. He denies it, talking about there's no grounds to grant reasons or anything pertaining to my requesting him to send these documents up that is required by law for him to do. There's no grounds for it. No grounds. And he denied and dismissed this case. He denied it and dismissed it. We're talking about Judge Gary A. Feener back here in the 2010 case when he was over this here. And so that brought my attention where I have to take it to another level, and that was to the United States Supreme Court, because they disclosed my case and refused to do anything about it. And so anyway, I filed it into the United States Supreme Court and went through all the rules and et cetera, and then get to the bottom line of all this. The United States Supreme Court denied my case. I said, wait a minute. Now, out of all the facts and evidence showing what this judge and General Milsom did, and lying and withholding information and stuff, and then they're going to deny me. So I appealed it again in the United States Supreme Court. All this is back here in 2011 and 12, and he gets up here, and then I had a rehearing. Well, that was denied too. And so this perpetually been denied and deprived. And this is where I come after all this here. This is where I said, well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and make this website and thing around up over here, and YouTube site and all this other stuff, to bring out the truth about what General Mills and the courts here, they don't want known. And it's and Jeffrey Sutton and my attorneys and things around up over here. And they know what I'm saying is true, because everything I'm talking about is right here in legal documents in the Court of Appeal. Right now, they have this here, and some of the very same thing, and some of the very same key players and judges and court clerks. They are still associated, some of them right here, in this new lawsuit that's involving with Lamar's and them. Now they set up here from back here in the 2010. They allege that I didn't file in a timely manner around up over here in the United States Supreme Court. They just don't give any reason on why they denied it. They just, they just denied it. Okay, why? Yeah, well, they don't have to give any reasons. Okay, well, really. Anyway, something's wrong with that picture. And later on, I will let you hear that recording between me and one of the United States Supreme Court clerk involving why this case was closed, because I was asking her several questions and things around up over here. But I want you all to hear that as well. But back here on this Judge Feener around up over here, he had a whole total different approach earlier. He allowed this thing, or signed this thing, to go to the early assessment program and things, to try to settle this thing out between me and General Mills, involving the settlement of full release fraud and deceit. And these are documents and things in the battle has perpetually been going on, back and forth, in and out, out and in. And the case number for that 2010 back here It was 10-0376-CV-W-GAF. And it was a title here, Complaint of Conspiracy Against Right and Settlement of Full Release Fraud Petition for Damage. And even though this battle been going on and on and on and on, and since, the settlement of full release, how it was proven that it was negotiated with fraud and deceit. And this is another reason why General Mills do not want this to go before a juror. This is another reason why General Mills had my former attorney, Jeffrey Sutton, not to talk to all of my witnesses, and none of those witnesses that was more than willing to actually go before a court and testify before a juror. General Mills certainly didn't want that. They certainly didn't want that. Union was even surprised at that. And unfortunately, General Mills, before it even became a civil matter, how did General Mills even use a union, unfortunately, to not even represent me like they supposed to, despite facts, evidence, and that's why, unfortunately, why the union is a defendant. So, General Mills has a lot to do with everything that I'm talking about here in this cause of action, and even in the new lawsuit involving with Lamar's and advertisers. So I'm just showing the difference in both lawsuits and how General Mills have been manipulating in both cases around here. And I'm not just blowing smoke in the air. It's right here in evidence. The same judge that dismissed this case here, round up over here, and then get a new lawsuit against Lamar's advertiser and them, and they're going to allow this same judge to be on there, and there's a major conflict of interest. Why didn't he resign or get himself off of it? And more importantly, why didn't the judge and the courts and them around up, or chief judge and them, why didn't they insist that he get off of it as required by law? Well, that logic course of action did not happen. Why? Obviously, because General Mills didn't want it to happen. Because it may have gotten against got a judge on there that might say, hey, you know what, we're going to have to look at this thing. And just what General Mills didn't want to test that. And everything I'm saying, through the grace of God, under the best of my knowledge, I'm saying under the full penalty of perjury, that I am not fabricating and just making any allegations against any of these individuals or entities that I am speaking about is all right here in court dockets. And they know it. And this battle been going on, this pro se, going on over 17 years. Working on 18 years. It was told me when the judge asked me back in the Wyandotte court. He asked me, Mr. Dupree, where's your attorney? I said, Your Honor, I'm suing him. And that was back in 2003. The judge asked me, wouldn't you like to have an attorney, or would you need one? I said, Your Honor, I would love to have an attorney. And he said, what are you going to do, Mr. Dupree, if you don't get an attorney? I said, well, I would hate not to be able to get one, but if I don't, I'm going to continue to fight for my rights. The judge almost stood up and shook my hand. Came close to coming to shake my hand, saying that is your right to do. And the opposing counsel, he got highly upset behind that. And he told the judge and told me both, quote unquote, Your Honor, Mr. Dupree ain't going to get no attorney that's going to represent him in this cause of action. And out of all these years and many attempts and still seeking legal assistance, it haven't happened. So in other words, from that right there, this shows that I've been red wall, white wall, whatever, all the way back then from getting any assistance to help in this matter. I'm even having issues trying to get NAACP and some of these other civil rights organizations and things around here to assist. Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody got their reason why not. And this all the more why I put emphasis involving and still dealing with my congressman, Emmanuel Cleaver. Because Congress is the one who have paved the way for anyone to file a complaint against a federal judge for misconduct. Not because I'm just upset because the judge didn't rule in my favor. No, we talking about straight out misconduct. Anytime a judge set up here and lie, withhold information, refusing to send documentations up to the higher up court, and I went through the judicial protocol and making this known and still been deprived and denied, well, that's fraud on the court as well as judicial misconduct. That's what we're talking about. Congress had paved the way for anyone to file against this type of injustice. And nothing still haven't been done about it. Nothing. Now, As I stated again earlier in my videos concerning my congressman Emmanuel Cleaver, that if he's not able to do anything about it, as he alleged, because of the three separations of power, he's constitutionally prohibited from intervening. And so, well, then if that's true, well, then you can at least intervene and give the information that have been perpetually provided to you at your Kansas City office, located right down here in the Kansas City area. Here it is, 101 West 31st Street in Kansas City. I've been perpetually given documents after documents and keeping them informed on the injustice that I have been experiencing behind the walls of the courts in the color of law. Well, then, if you're not able to do anything, at least send this information forward to those who can, particularly the ones in Congress or the congressional committee or board or whoever it made, who paved the way for anyone to file a complaint against a federal judge. But you can send that information to me. Matter of fact, I also made it very clear I had filled out a form and a waiver giving him that permission that he can, or anyone in his office can, send any documents that I have sent and presented to him and for him, or to his representative at his Kansas City office down here located, to send it up to him. I sent that, I think that was May 23rd of 2018. Yeah, all this year. Yeah, all this is going on this year. But however, still continuously, nothing's been going on, happening. Everything seemed like it's just been perpetually, the court just closed it out again and denied it. So that's where and this is why I had to try to convey this information out, because like I said, there's a lot more than just Robert C. Dupree. If this injustice they're doing to me behind the color of law, and General Mills in this cause of action is behind it all, in this cause of action of mine, both in prior and previous lawsuits, General Mills, they got their hands in all this here behind the scenes. Of course, they're not going to admit it. They don't have to. Evidence here and documents will. That's why they don't want this to go before a jury. And the ongoing battle came a lot longer is when General Mills used my former attorney to deceive and coerce me into signing settlements and documents and things around up over here, based up on, I found out, after all was said, done, and finalized, the settlement of full release was based upon a young lady's yearly wage, who at the time made less than I did. Now, and there was damages and things here that the attorney agreed, and we talked out, and come to find out that he didn't even talk to all my witnesses, in violation of Federal Rules of Civil Procedures 26 and A, that requires for an attorney in a civil matter to make sure you get all evidence, talk to all witnesses, and he even got it right here in these exhibit books and things around up over here about interrogatories and things and information and documents and stuff, where you can't leave no witnesses out. You can't leave no information out, because that will hurt your case. All this here, and believe you me, when Judge Gary A. Fenner left off documents and pretrial documents and things off of the civil docket sheets and refused to send it up to the Court of Appeal, you can rest assured that these 3 exhibit books was certainly part of that. Yes, sir. He left off them all. And I had to continually inform and ask him about that and file motions concerning to that. And it's just, one thing just led to another. And the bottom line of it, he just, courts just left it off and refused to do that. And because of such, well, I was, wasn't able to get no jury trial. Just like I ain't able to get no jury trial here in the new lawsuit around here. They do just what they do. Closed it out and dismissed it. And General Mills, just like before it even became a civil matter, when I was constantly filing grievances down here at the plant concerning being harassed by this particular supervisor, and General Mills and everybody down there knew about it. When I say everybody, I'm talking about the union. They definitely was aware of it because of the grievance I was filing. Every grievance I filed and brought to the union's attention, when it was addressed, the bottom line, it was denied. Why didn't the union really press this issue? No. It all went the way General Mills wanted. And it's the same history of practice going on right now in the judicial court system. Motions and evidence that is clearly seen is what? been deprived, been denied. Someone said, why don't you get you an attorney? Well, I had an attorney. Well, I'm still looking for one, for whatever it's worth. I had an attorney who clearly seen that what General Mills had done, they deprived me of my rights, they deprived me of advancement to move up, and they discriminated against me, had witnesses up on top of witnesses who wanted to testify. And some of them did testify, and they wouldn't let them go to arbitration either. Oh no, they didn't let that happen. No. So this is what I'm saying. And if they didn't let it happen to arbitration, you think they're going to allow this to go on in the courts? Oh no. Not if General Mills had anything to do with it, and General Mills had everything to do with it. That's why I'm pro se for over the past 18 years, or 17 going on 18 years. But however, I want the truth to be known, other than a whole bunch of deception and lies and criminal act behind the laws and the walls and the color of law, to make it appear that, well, this is what happened, this, that, and another. And the truth of it is, no, there's a lot of conspiracy behind depriving me of civil and constitutional rights. And how many other peoples out here who is going through the same thing or worse? That's what I'm saying. This is more than just Robert C. Dupree. This is more than Robert C. Dupree. Because if corporations can collaborate with certain judges and certain lawyers and certain chief judges and whichever it is to deprive a citizen or citizens of their civil and constitutional rights and due rights that is required by law and is protected by law, well, there it is. They just sweep it up under the rug and make it, oh, well, you know, it eventually go on, don't worry about it. So, however, through the grace of God, I thank God that the Lord allowed me to still be able to bring this truth out, that General Mills, they don't want this out. General Mills, the courts, certain, when I say the courts, I'm talking about certain lawyers and judges or whoever it is that's also aiding in this conspiracy around here. And it's all right here in legal documents. So I'm not blowing smoke out of my nose or just playing the race card. And I got more than enough videos that clearly shows there was other peoples involved has had dealings and experiences with General Mills. So however, this truth, you know, through the grace of God must be known, and I'm still seeking to take legal action.